Before you pack your bags and head to Washington, D.C., there are a few things you need to know. Let me be honest, the city isn't for everyone, but if you're thinking of making the move here, I'm going to give you the real story, the good, the bad, and everything in between so you can decide if DC is truly right for you. I've lived here for over 25 years. Washington, D.C. has some incredible perks. Some of them are absolutely world class. There are dozens of reasons why people love calling the area home, but let's face it, no place is perfect, and the Washington, D.C. area is no exception. So today, I'm going to be breaking down the 5 things most people don't tell you about living here. We're going to get after it right now. The first thing to understand is that the Washington, D.C. area is quite large. We're talking about over 6 million people calling this region home. For some, that's exciting. For others, it's too many people. So if you're not a fan of crowds, this might be something to consider. The locals call the Washington, D.C. area the DMV. And no, I'm not talking about the place where you go get your driver's license. DMV is short for DC, Maryland, and Virginia. But here's the thing, it doesn't include all of Maryland or all of Virginia. When people say DMV, they're referring to Northern Virginia, which lies west of DC, the Maryland suburbs, mostly to the north of DC, and of course the District of Columbia itself. The region is one of the most densely populated and economically significant areas in the country, and it's famous for being a major cultural, economic, and of course political hub. So what draws so many people here? It's simple, opportunity. The DMV offers vast job prospects, vibrant communities, and world-class amenities. But more people means, well, more people. So think heavier traffic, more competition for jobs, and crowds at some sporting events and recreational activities. If you're dreaming of a sleepy, small town vibe, the DC area might not be the best fit. That being said, several of the suburbs here strike a great balance. They offer that cozy, small to medium-sized town feel with the convenience of modern amenities and the excitement of being close to a major city. So there's a little something for everyone if you know where to look. Now, let's dive into one of the most talked about aspects of living in Washington, D.C. area, the cost of living. The region boasts a vibrant economy, top-rated schools, world-class amenities, and abundant job opportunities, making it an incredibly popular place to live. But with all those perks comes a higher price tag. How high? Well, the cost of living here can range from 22% to 47% above the national average, depending on which city you choose. Let's break that down a little bit. Utilities can run about 10% higher, food and transportation are around 6% higher, healthcare is roughly 11% more, and goods and services are about 16% above average. So far, not too shocking, right? But here's where it really hits, housing. The cost of housing is the biggest driver behind the overall cost of living. The average home price in the DC area currently sits at $610,000 compared to the national average of just over $420,000. And of course, in certain neighborhoods or cities, home prices can climb well above that mark. It's good to know that renting is equally as high, and you would not be building equity in a market like here, which has historically shown strong appreciation. That said, the DMV area is quite large, encompassing a variety of cities and neighborhoods across DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia. The good news, there's a wide range of home prices here, so there's something to fit different budgets. Be sure to check out my individual videos on each city where I break down the details for specific cities and neighborhoods. Now, let's talk about salaries. While the cost of living is higher, most employers here are well aware of what it takes to attract top talent. Median household incomes in the area range from $100,000 to $140,000, depending on the city and industry. For context, the national median household income is around $75,000. Housing prices are high, but you have the potential to earn much higher. And here's the interesting fact. While it's not cheap to live in the DC area, a recent US News report revealed that DC doesn't even crack the top 25 most expensive cities in the US. So while it's on the pricier side, it's not the priciest. By the way, my name is Brad. If you're thinking about moving to Washington, DC or the surrounding area, go ahead and subscribe below so you can be the first to learn about the current market here in Washington, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I have lived in all three, so every day I help people just like you make their move here and avoid choosing the wrong city for them. So whether that's next week, next month, or next year, feel free to reach out or set up a Zoom. All of my contact information is below. The team and I will help you make a smooth landing here in Washington, DC. Okay, let's talk about the one thing that just about every Washingtonian has a story about: traffic. Yes, traffic in the DC area can be a real challenge. Now, it's worth noting that DC boasts an excellent public transportation system, but many Washingtonians still love their cars. As a result, traffic congestion is a common complaint, especially during rush hour. The area's highways like I-495, which is our beltway around Washington, I-66, and I-95 often see heavy traffic, particularly as commuters travel to and from the suburbs in Northern Virginia and Maryland. The average commute here is 10 miles, and that means an average time of 28 minutes. In general, the further away from DC you are commuting from, the more congestion there is. One bright spot for drivers is the availability of express lanes on many of the major highways. These express lanes offer a faster option for commuters who are willing to pay a toll or who can carpool with 3 or more people for free. What's interesting about the toll system is that it's dynamic. Prices go up or down based on traffic levels. If the lanes start to become congested, the prices rise to keep the express lanes moving slowly. If you're commuting to the office, planning your route carefully is key to avoiding congestion. Thankfully, since COVID, telecommuting has taken a bit of the edge off daily traffic, but honestly, there's still plenty of cars on the road. The good news is that big improvements are on the way. For example, a major construction project, the American Legion Bridge, connecting Virginia and Maryland, aims to fix a long-standing bottleneck and improve the commute for thousands of commuting drivers. Washingtonians also have their strategies for dealing with traffic. Many avoid peak times altogether if they can, plan weekday events later in the evening, or steer clear of heavily congested areas during rush hour. I typically use Waze or Google Maps, even when I know where I'm going, as their real-time data can avoid traffic jams caused by accidents or temporary construction. So while traffic here can be frustrating, it's somewhat manageable if you're prepared and plan ahead. Choosing the right area is an important part of the decision-making process. Okay, next up is something that will definitely depend on your perspective. I'm talking about the weather. Living in the DC area means you'll experience all 4 seasons, each with its own charm and quirks. Let's start with early summer. Early summer temperatures are pretty pleasant, ranging from the 60s to the upper 80s or 18 to 30 degrees Celsius. But July and August, get ready for some heat and humidity. Temperatures often sit in the 80s to 90s, which is about 29 to 35 degrees Celsius. But with the humidity, it's the feels like temperature that really matters, which will make it seem much hotter. Late summer thunderstorms are fairly common, but they usually bring a welcome cool down afterwards. So now let's move to winter. January and February can feel really cold, with temperatures dipping into the 20s and the 30s Fahrenheit, or -3 to about 1 degree Celsius. The rest of the winter is typically milder, ranging from 30 to 50 degrees or -1 to 10 degrees Celsius. And what about snow? So we average 10 to 13 inches of snowfall annually, usually spread out in manageable bursts of ½ an inch to 2 inches at a time. Large snowfalls are somewhat rare, but when they happen, the community really rallies around here. For example, in 2016, we had the infamous Snowzilla with up to 30 inches of snow blanketing most of the area. Everything shut down for 3 days. My neighborhood, we turned it into kind of a bonding experience, helping each other shovel their driveways, building an ice bar and having a driveway party. But that's DC for you, making the best out of any situation. Here's the best part. The transitional seasons are nothing short of spectacular. Spring and fall, absolutely gorgeous. In spring, which is March to May, temperatures range from the 50s to the 70s, or 10 to 20 degrees Celsius. The area comes alive with cherry blossom trees, especially during the famous Cherry Blossom Festival. It's the perfect time to enjoy outdoor dining, wineries, parks, bike trails. Then comes fall. From September to November, it's equally stunning, with highs in the mid-60s to mid-70s or 12 to 18 degrees Celsius, and vibrant fall foliage that makes the area picture perfect. While there's a slight increase in rainfall, most days are sunny and ideal for enjoying the outdoors. Personally, I love the weather here. Winter gives you just enough snow to make it fun without becoming a hassle. Summers may be hot and humid, but the payoff is absolutely delightful spring and fall. All right, we've established that the Washington metropolitan area can be an expensive place to live. When it comes to real estate, understanding the differences in property tax rates between the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Northern Virginia is important. These differences can play a big role in your overall cost of living, so let's break them down. In DC, the average effective annual property tax rate is 0.56%, making it the lowest among the three. However, keep in mind that property values in DC tend to be a little higher, which can offset some of the benefit of that lower tax rate. Maryland has the highest average effective property tax rate at 1.06% annually, but the tax rates can vary significantly by county. For instance, Montgomery County has a higher property taxes compared to more other rural areas. On the bright side, property values in some parts of Maryland can be more moderate, which can help balance things out. Virginia falls in the middle with an average effective property tax rate of 0.8%. Similar to Maryland, tax rates and property values can vary widely depending on where you are in Northern Virginia. For example, Fairfax County typically has higher property values and slightly higher tax rates than more rural regions of the state. It's important to remember that your actual property tax bill will depend on your assessed value of your property, which is determined by the local municipality, not by how much you paid. Often these assessed values are below market price or what you paid. You can easily find the current property tax information for any specific property on many of the listing websites, or just reach out to me. I'd be happy to help to provide those details for you. Okay, so this area is not for everybody. However, it does offer some tremendous benefits from culture, from history, job opportunity, and a wide variety of cities and neighborhoods. Be sure to see my other videos on the top cities and neighborhoods in the area, the pros and cons of each. If you stayed this far, you must have gotten something out of this video, so please hit the like button and consider subscribing as I make new videos each week. I know you may have questions, so feel free to reach out. My contact information is below. There's also a Zoom link to meet over Zoom. Thanks, and see you on the next video.